Most people don't realize this, but you can actually damage or even destroy your own injury case within the first few days after a car accident. And the insurance company is hoping you make these mistakes because when you do, it can save them thousands, sometimes even hundreds of thousands of dollars. In this video, I'm going to break down 5 mistakes that can ruin a car accident case and how you can avoid them. And mistake number 4 is the one that often costs accident victims the most money. My name is Jelani Aitch, and I'm a personal injury lawyer. I help accident victims recover compensation after serious injuries. And even if you're not in my state, I work with attorneys across the country and help accident victims nationwide through co-counsel relationships. So if you've been injured anywhere in the United States, the information in this video still applies to you. But before we get into the 5 mistakes, let me show you a quick example of how these problems happen in real life. Imagine someone gets rear-ended at a stoplight. The next day, an insurance adjuster calls them and says, "We just need a quick recorded statement." And the person thinks it's routine, so they answer a few questions and casually say something like, "I'm feeling okay today." But 2 weeks later, they start having serious back pain and need medical treatment. And when the claim is filed, the insurance company goes back to the recorded statement that says, "But you told us you were okay after the accident." And suddenly, the insurance company is arguing that the injury wasn't caused by the crash. Now, situations like this happen more often than people realize, and it leads directly into the first mistake people make after a car accident. The first mistake happens very quickly after a crash, and most people don't realize how risky it can be. Within a few days of the crash, an insurance adjuster will usually call you, and they often sound very friendly and helpful. And they may say things like, "We just want to understand what happened," or "This will help process your claim faster, so can we get a recorded statement?" But here's what many people don't realize. Insurance adjusters are trained investigators, and their job is not simply to help you. Their job is to protect the insurance company's money. And that means they are trained to ask questions that may lead to statements that can later be used to minimize your claim. So for example, they may ask something that sounds harmless like, "How are you feeling today?" And most people respond politely and say, "I'm doing okay." But that statement might later appear in a claim report that says, "Claimant stated they were doing okay after the accident." And the insurance company may use that statement to argue your injuries must not be that serious. And this is exactly like the example we discussed earlier. And mistake number 1 is talking too freely to the insurance company. By far, one of the biggest mistakes people make after an accident is talking too freely to the insurance company. So the safest approach is to be cautious about giving recorded statements before speaking with a lawyer, because once something is recorded, it can follow your case the entire time. Now, the second mistake is something insurance companies absolutely love to see after an accident. Mistake number 2 is waiting too long to get medical treatment. This is a major mistake, and people make it right after a car accident, and that mistake is just waiting too long to get medical treatment. Now, this happens all the time because people often think, "I'm just sore and I'll probably feel better tomorrow." Other times, they're worried about medical bills or missing work or just the inconvenience of seeing the doctor. But here's the problem. Insurance companies love gaps in treatment. If someone waits days or weeks before seeing the doctor, the insurance company often argues something like this: "If you were really injured, you would have gone to the doctor immediately," even if that's not actually true. Another thing many people don't realize is that some injuries don't show symptoms right away. And this is especially common with neck injuries, back injuries, disc injuries, and concussions. And that is because after a crash, adrenaline can mask pain, and symptoms sometimes appear 24 to 72 hours later. Getting medical treatment does 2 very important things. First, it protects your health. But second, it creates medical documentation linking your injuries to the accident. And without that documentation, the insurance company may argue, "We don't know if this injury came from the crash or something else." Now, if you're finding this video helpful so far, let me know in the comments where you're watching from. I always find it interesting seeing where viewers are tuning in from across the country. Now, let's talk about the third mistake that many people make after an accident, and most people don't think about, but insurance companies absolutely pay attention to this. And that mistake is posting on social media. Social media can quietly damage an injury case without people realizing it. Insurance companies and defense attorneys often monitor social media accounts during injury claims. And what they're looking for are posts that contradict the injury claim. So for example, imagine someone claims they suffered serious back injury, but a few weeks later, they post photos at the gym, lifting something heavy or doing something physically active. Even if that activity lasted only a few minutes, those photos can still be used against them. And sometimes it's not even the activity itself, it's the captioning, like feeling great today. That can be taken out of context and used to question the seriousness of the injury. I've seen cases where a single social media post significantly reduced the value of a claim because the defense used it to challenge the credibility of the injury. The safest approach is usually to limit or avoid posting on social media while injury claim is ongoing. Now, the fourth mistake is one that often costs accident victims the most money. Mistake number 4 is accepting the first settlement offer. Insurance companies sometimes move very quickly after an accident, usually within days or weeks, and you may receive a call saying something like, "We'd like to offer you a settlement today." They may say something like, "We can send you $3,000 right now if you sign this release." Now, to someone dealing with medical bills or car repairs or lost income, that offer can sound very tempting, and insurance companies are banking on that. But here's the problem. Early settlement offers are often much lower than the true value of the case, because early on, you usually don't know the full extent of your injuries yet. Some injuries require months of treatment, physical therapy, or even surgery. And once you sign a settlement release, your case is permanently closed, even if your injuries later turn out to be far worse than expected. That's why it's important to understand the full value of your claim before accepting any settlement offer from the insurance company. Now, the final mistake is something that can actually eliminate your ability to recover compensation entirely. Mistake number 5 is waiting too long to talk to a lawyer. Now, every state has something called statute of limitations, and this is the legal deadline for filing an injury claim. And depending on your state, that deadline might be 2 years, 3 years, and in some cases, even shorter. Now, if that deadline passes before a lawsuit is filed, your case can be permanently barred, which means even if the accident was clearly someone else's fault, you may lose the ability to recover compensation entirely. That's why it's often wise to at least speak to an attorney early after an accident. So even if you ultimately decide not to hire one, understanding your rights early can help you avoid mistakes that might damage your case later. Now, if you were injured in a car accident or injured due to someone else's negligence and you're not sure what your case might be worth, you can reach out to my office. And even if you're not in my state, I work with attorneys across the country and help accident victims nationwide through co-counsel relationships. So we can still help you and point you in the right direction. And if you found this video helpful, make sure you subscribe to the channel. I post videos explaining how injury claims work, insurance company tactics, and what accident victims should actually know to protect their rights. And if you want to learn the most important steps to take immediately after a crash, watch the next video, What to Do After a Car Accident. Because the steps you take in the first 24 hours after a crash can actually have a huge impact on your case.